When were you blown away by your own stupidity? I uninstalled wireless drivers on a computer I was working on remotely. Or it just went offline. Wait, shit, I'm an idiot. I've accidentally shut down several remote servers instead of rebooting. Calling the data center to hit the power button always makes me feel like an idiot. I just started a data center job and you're scaring me. I recently went to pick up an order of glasses. The optician asked me to try them on, to see if they fit well. I told him this must be someone else's order, because everything was blurry. He was surprised and started hunting through boxes, and I kept squinting and looking around at blurry shapes. We did this for 10 minutes before the optometrist walked in. He explained the issue and the optometrist paused and asked where I put the glasses I was wearing. When I walked in, I said I was wearing contacts. I was wearing contacts, and I put the new glasses over my contacts. I asked the optometrist if this gave me double the perfect vision and she replied, "If you mean double vision, sure." I think the reason I laughed so hard at this is because it sounds like something that would happen to me. Same, but I don't like touching my eye, so fuck contacts. Birthday is March 12th. In high school I saw that my birthday was going to fall on a Thursday. So I was like, oh wow, Thursday the 12th. I proceeded to scan the next couple of decades on my iPod Touch calendar to find out if my birthday would ever fall on Friday the 13th. To those curious, no, my March 12th B-Day doesn't ever fall on Friday the 13th. Lol, not my proudest moments. Not my worst. Co-worker actually believed another co-worker that this year Halloween would fall on Friday 13th this year. That was a good laugh. Your co-worker and like 80% of Facebook. I once was cooking mac and cheese and started squeezing the cheese sauce in before draining the water. When I realized the mistake, I grabbed the cheese sauce with my hands and that just made everything worse in every way. I was making mac and cheese with the melty cheese packet once. Not thinking, dry drained the noodles. I added 1/4 cup butter and 1/4 cup milk. Just like you would do for the powdered kind. Said screw it and went ahead and added the cheese packet. It was delicious. Anyone that eats mac and cheese with those packets and doesn't add butter and milk is probably be on a watch list somewhere. In school one day my friend had a pen that lit up when you pressed it to paper, or if you flicked a switch on the pen the lights would flash. He kept turning it on and waving it at me. This annoyed me, so I took the batteries out in front of Hi Monsieur. He stared at me for a second before trying to get the batteries back. In the midst of the struggle I decided the best way to stop him from getting them. So I popped them in my mouth. Then proceeded to swallow the Monsieur. My friend returned to staring at me, but with a panicked look on his face. I didn't think anything of it at first, but eventually I realized that I shouldn't have done that. I started feeling weird. I held my hand up and asked my teacher if I could go to the nurse's office. Skeptical, she asked me why. I told her I had just eaten 3 small batteries and was feeling weird. She stared in disbelief, I think, for a second, then told the class that she'll return in a moment and immediately seized my hand and practically dragged me along, sprinting to the nurse's office. She threw me into the nurse's office and screamed, "He's fucking swallowed batteries." The nurse jumped up out of her chair. Oh my god. Oh shit. I'll ring the NHS and find out what we need to do. I immediately felt like the stupidest idiot alive. I asked if I was going to be okay. My teacher looked at me and smiled, the fakest smile I've ever seen in my life. Of course you a boy. Long story short, I had to be taken to a amp. Ian had to be x-rayed to see where the batteries were. They had reached my stomach. So I was at risk of the stomach acid melting the metal coating and the battery acid entering my stomach. I was given laxatives in a sieve, and kept overnight. of which I spent 75% of this sifting through my sludgy bowel movements like some crazed Wild West miner scouring for gold. Eventually found them, and I've lived happily ever after since, thankfully. I wish I still had them, a trophy of the stupidest I've ever been. Edit. Fixed a few words. At least you didn't hit your friend. It could have been assault and battery. I like your style, you, _McBallsy. During the holidays I walked through an arts and crafts store trying to find something very specific. After finding out they didn't have it, I got in a long line to check out. It didn't hit me that I didn't have anything to buy until it was my turn. I just walked past the cashier, waved, and said, "Have a nice day." It was not FM. I was at Bed Bath & Beyond last week, didn't buy anything. As I was walking to the front of the store and saw the huge long lines, I was filled with dread. Look at these lines, this is going to take so long. Then I realized I didn't have a purchase. In high school, I woke up on a day where very icy weather was expected and couldn't find school closings on TV. I begrudgingly got ready for school, stepped out my front door, and immediately slipped on ice, landing flat on my back. Got up, shook it off, and cursed the school for not being closed. I had to crawl my way up a hill to the bus stop because I kept slipping down ice on the way there. Got to the bus stop and waited over half an hour for it to get there. Checked my watch repeatedly, getting more and more angry each time. Finally decide that they must have cancelled school and slowly make it back home, where I see a clock. It was now 2:30 am, monsieur. Checked my watch. Repeated. Yours is an extreme example of it. But I feel like a lot of people go through a similar thing for some reason. I think I was still in middle school at the time, but I woke up and went to take a shower and get ready for school probably around that same time of 2:30 am, monsieur. Even though I had a clock right by my bed, and this is back when my mom would wake me up. But for some reason, I just thought it was time to get up and get ready. I think my brother or someone heard the shower on and came to ask what the hell I was doing. I had that happen to me like 5 times last year. I once cracked an egg and poured it on the counter. The bowl was right there. I brewed an entire pot of hot coffee without the coffee pot. Took a long time to clean up that mess. I needed caffeine badly, so I brewed another pot. Again, I forgot to put the damn coffee pot under the drip. You clearly needed some coffee, should have made yourself some. I live in a big city and used to own a car, and one night a friend was getting married pretty close to my apartment. There was a small pre-game going on the other side of the city, so I drove down to meet up with everyone and was going to just drive back to my place with everyone in my car, park it back at my apartment. Then we'd all just walk down to the ceremony together. We ended up running a bit late and there were more people than could fit in my car, so we just grabbed an Uber so we wouldn't have to wait for parking. I left my car by my friend's house in 2-hour parking, but that ended like 30 minutes after I parked, and didn't apply on Sunday, which was the next day. Fast forward to 2 weeks later. Since I usually walk to work and never had to use my car, I usually needed a minute to remember where it was parked when I needed it. After looking for it for around 5 minutes, it hit me. Conclusion, and TLDR, I left my car in 2-hour parking 2 weeks ago. Ouch. How much did that cost in the end? This morning, I was installing a door knob. After cutting the ~W~hole and putting the knob in to make sure the door closed properly, I opened the door and began looking for the doorknob so I could install it. For 25 minutes, which was in the goddamn door still. My expectation starting the story was that you were going to install a new lock and lock yourself out of your home. One time I pulled over because I was in a panic, because I couldn't find my car keys. Okay, so my brother used to have a push-to-start car, back when they were relatively newish, and they had an HUUUUGE distance. So one day, His wife goes to take the kids to daycare and gets back in the car and goes to start it, and it won't start. She left the keys at home. She did it again later that day. Edit. The car had a push-to-start button instead of a keyhole in the ignition. My boss used to start his wife's car for her sometimes in the summer. He's had to drive somewhere to give her the key fob more than a couple of times. Wondering if lime was real wood or if I made it up. A what? Potato. Never heard of the monsieur. That one time I bit my phone and tapped my toast. I've tried to scroll on printed pictures, articles too many times. Also Zoom monsieur. When I was a kid, my mom accidentally burned some food she was cooking, as in, it was actually on fire. I heroically leaped to the rescue to put it out by hitting it with a napkin. No, I don't know what I was thinking either. Better than what my wife did when she caught the toaster on fire. All she could do was point at the toaster and go, in increasingly panicked fashion each time she said it. She will never live that down. True Sims fashion. Stand and scream and point at the danger till you die. I grew up in a trailer park, in a trailer heated by propane gas. When I was 16, a blizzard hit my area really hard and my mom was worried because immediately prior to the storm, she thought she smelled propane just outside and was concerned about us having a leak. About 10 o'clock at night the heater started acting funny and my mom, fully convinced of the leak at this point, asked me to go out back and check to the propane tanks, see if they still had gas, and if so how much. So I begrudgingly throw on some clothes and head out into 2 feet of snow. As get around the back of the trailer, near the tanks, I slipped and dropped my flashlight, which promptly died. But a light bulb goes off in my head. I'm a smoker and never go anywhere without my Zippo. So I light it up and start poking around the tank to read the meter and see if I can smell any propane. And then it finally sinks in. I'm looking for a propane leak with a goddamn open flame. So I was figuratively and almost literally blown away by my own stupidity. Some real Darwin nominee material that night.